How's it going, guys? What's up, power users? This is Chris from Power User Tech, and I'm going to show you some of my old gadgets that I used to use when I was a little bit younger, and kind of how that led me to wanting to get into reviewing technology or talking about technology in general. So we're going to start off with my first phone. This, I don't know if the camera can see that, is the Pantech Duo. So cool thing about this phone is that you can actually open it in two different ways. Remember that? So this was probably the coolest phone you can have as a first phone. I mean, it wasn't no BlackBerry, but I really liked that I could just call straight from the dialer pad. And then when I was gonna text, I can use this. I still remember the day that I got this phone. It just really made a lasting impression on me, knowing that this was gonna be my first one. It even had a little camera on it. I remember filming little films with my cousins. And yeah, overall it was just a really fun experience. And now we can move on to my second phone. My second phone was kind of an interesting upgrade. So I think this was my second phone. So this is a Samsung, I don't know what it's called. It's like a BlackBerry almost lookalike. So the cool thing about this phone is that it was pretty compact and it has the full keyboard right there. It had a 2 megapixel camera. And man, this thing was a breeze to type on. It was also all plastic pretty much, so it was really durable. As you can see, there's some wear and tear on there. Somewhere along the life of this phone, I was able to get into the software and crack it so that this little indicator light would light up whenever I get a text. So that was pretty fun. Let's go up to my next phone. Okay, I really don't remember which one came first. I think it was this one. So this phone was called the Motorola Blur. So the cool thing about this phone is that it utilized this trackpad area to be able to navigate some of the menus. It was very early for its time, but I really didn't get much use out of that touchpad. Honestly, the software was really glitchy on this phone. I just remember having a lot of problems. I mean, it's a pretty sleek design though. I mean, check it out. Open it up to text. We can see that. And it has a 5 megapixel camera, so this was pretty good camera at the time. Yeah, I really don't remember much about this phone. I don't think I had this phone for very long because it was very glitchy. Just resetting on me, turning off when you least expect it. Yeah, I can't really remember a lot. The next phone was a phone that I used for a very long time. Actually, I used this phone probably through the end of high school up until my first year of college. It was by Sony Ericsson. So if you guys remember Sony Ericsson, they usually came out with really nice designs on their phones, and this one was one of the first phones that you can play video games on. So you slide it open, okay, and it reveals a gamepad. And they had this racing game that I used to play on there. And funny enough, Sony is the make of the camera that I'm using right now. This was a really fun phone. I love video games, and this phone allowed me to play video games on the go. So one of the downsides of this phone though was it wasn't as easy to type on compared to this, you know? So you had to type using the screen. Being a plastic screen, it was not very responsive. It was a nightmare to type on. I ended up not really texting people because of it, but I love this phone to death. It was probably one of my favorite phones next to this one, just because it combined gaming and phone in the same package. Okay, so now we're starting to move up My next phone, you're gonna laugh at me for this. You're gonna laugh at me, okay? It was a BlackBerry. So I forgot the name of this model. I think it was like the Q10 or something. I don't know. But this phone was, I mean, I've always wanted a BlackBerry. Ever since I was little, I always used to see my uncle or, you know, other people with a BlackBerry Pearl with the little trackball, and people would text each other. Like BBM was basically like iMessage. It was awesome. So this phone, the only complaint was that the software was horrible. You couldn't get any apps on there. Nobody developed for it, so there's no Instagram. I think it had Facebook, but it was a great phone. Really, really durable. Unfortunately, I cracked it. I don't know if you can see that. And the crack led to the phone just not working anymore. But it was a really great phone. I mean, I loved the form factor. It was really small and like probably one of the best keyboards I've ever used on a phone. Like this one doesn't even compare. This one, some keys are not that responsive and they're super tiny. And this one, there's some flex in the keyboard, so you know, it just doesn't feel as nice. This one has a nice, satisfying click. Okay, so guess what was my next phone after this one? This was at a time where I could actually afford my own phone now, so I went into the iPhone 6 and eventually ended up, I mean, I could walk you through all the models I owned. iPhone 6 to iPhone 7 to iPhone 10. I think I skipped the iPhone 8. So I went to iPhone 10 and now I have the XS Max. So it's funny how you start off with something like this and then you end up with a super huge phone. I hope the autofocus is catching that, by the way. Here's another size comparison. I also have the battery case on there, so it makes it look even bigger. Just a few more pieces of tech. I'm gonna check if I'm running out of time. Okay, I've only been filming for like almost 10 minutes. Cell phones have always been a really personal device for me because it was always with me, and I treasure cell phones the most because of what they bring to the table. Growing up in the 90s, you had Game Boy Colors, the Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, and me personally, I had the PlayStation Portable. This was a very special device to me. I got it for my birthday, and I was super lucky to have owned this. It honestly changed the way I think about video games in general. Obviously, the Nintendo DS like blew it out of the water eventually, but it was one of the first handheld devices of its time to play something like a console type game. I used to play Battlefield, not Battlefield, Star Wars Battlefront. And then there's another game, I think it was called Ridge Racer. So I used to play that all the time. This was actually one of the first devices that allowed you to connect to Wi-Fi and surf the web. I know you could do it on phones, but I never had a phone that could do it. So this device actually allowed me to access the internet, Google. I kind of wish I had a smartphone that accessed the internet, because maybe I would have like known the full potential of the internet a lot sooner. It was just so much fun. Like I watched some of my first YouTube videos on this thing. You could save media. It had a slot for a memory card. I mean, I could just do a whole video just on the PSP and why it was really fun for me. Man, just holding it brings back the memories. I hope if you guys ever get a chance to play something like the Nintendo Switch, I don't know if they're still making PlayStation Portables, maybe it's like PS Vita now. But if you ever get a chance, there's just something about having a full game in the palm of your hands, just anywhere you go. I know cell phones are taking that place little by little. But I mean, a dedicated gaming console is always a pleasure to have and own. And this one even had like a little joystick. So yeah, really fun device. I never bought another handheld portable. I just love this one so much. They came out with new versions, but honestly the games, the titles that were coming to the PSP were not that great anymore, in my opinion. I always like felt that it was missing something, and I just stuck with console, mainly console gaming. So yeah, enough rambling about that. That's where you put the cartridge, by the way. What's in there? Huh? Battlefront. Alright. So, now let's move on to my early Apple devices. So, what I'm about to show you next is my first ever Apple device. It's the iPod Shuffle, the original. Well, I don't know if this is the original. I don't remember anymore. But the iPod Shuffle. There was no screens on it back then. You had to memorize almost like the order of the songs, so you knew like where to skip, or if you had albums. It plugs in through USB. Really simple design, and it even has like a battery indicator, so if you press this button it would tell you like how much battery you have left. So the funny thing about this one, I got it for Christmas once, and I just fell in love with being able to carry my music. And keep in mind, I only owned maybe like 3 or 4 songs that I still have memorized to this day. It was like such a game changer for me, because I never had music with me. And yeah, this will always be a special device to me, just because it was my first Apple device. I'll keep it forever. Okay, so next up, I'm going to talk about the iPod Touch. So I did not get this until much later. It was a Christmas gift, and I kind of saved up a little bit of money to pay for it as well. So this is my first iPod Touch. It was an 8 gigabyte iPod Touch, and you can see right here, it's black. There was no cameras there. Honestly, don't know if they just used the shell of the iPhone and like shoved everything in there without the fancy features like the camera. It doesn't turn on anymore, but what made the iPod Touch special is you now had a like a graphical interface, or not graphical, like a visual interface to interact with your content. So to go from this to this was a game changer, because now you could just interact with your content in a more intuitive way. Honestly, this was such a revolutionary device. We take apps for granted, but back then there really wasn't any apps. There's just the core apps on the Apple platform, and then games, stuff that was coming out. So it was a really exciting time to have owned this. I don't remember exactly what year I got it, but it was like maybe a year or 2 after it came out. And then we have this. So this is the upgraded version of the older iPod Touch. And this is 32 gigs. So 32 gigs was, I believe, I think 8 gigabyte was still the standard. I might be wrong. But, oh, still has some juice. I was charging it the other night to see if it's still powered on. This was obviously a lot thinner, and it came with a camera in the back. So you could take pictures, record video. So, yeah, I don't remember my password anymore, so I don't know how to get into it, but what made this one special is that the graphics were updated and the performance was a lot faster. So now I start to really see like the value in the Apple products, or in this type of form factor specifically. So with the increased performance, I just had a more enjoyable experience. And it wasn't really until I bought my iPhone 6 that it just clicked for me. The ability to get cell data, or data from your carrier, to be able to access your things on the go, was pretty much what sealed the deal for me. I'll never not have a smartphone. and the smartphone to me was just an evolution of everything I love about tech. Like, you know, obviously I'm gonna miss the physical keyboard, but look at all the stuff that I used to use. This had like a gaming type feel to it. This had a gamepad on it. I used to have a device like this, and then, you know, this would be good for working out, but it was just, you know, another device you got to carry. All that has been replaced by your smartphone today. It's all just one device, which is why they're so expensive. But I just love the innovation and the ability to just carry one device to do all those little things I used to do. I used to be really interested in. They continue to push the limits. And one device I forgot to show actually is this. So I can't find the other ones, but I owned a Game Boy Color, which I think is in my garage. A Game Boy Advance. No, I don't think I owned a Game Boy Advance. Game Boy Color. Oh yeah, and then Game Boy Advance, like the kind of like laptop looking one. And then there was this one. Look how tiny that screen is. So the cool thing about this is that it was really portable. Again, there was a trend at one point for devices to get even smaller and smaller and smaller. I don't know if you guys remember, there was a flip phone that was like super tiny. That was really popular. It was just a tiny flip phone. And now we're going the reverse way, right? Instead of having these small devices, you're seeing the iPhones get bigger. The XS Max, which is my current favorite, because it allows you to have a more enjoyable experience when you're, you know, just staring at your phone. And obviously, if you're going to do that for a longer period of time, you can use a tablet. So basically, the purpose of this video was just to kind of show you like some of the products I've gone through. And in another video, I'm going to explain why I think Apple isn't the perfect phone, but it hits a lot of check boxes for me. But in a perfect world, I'd also own a Samsung because it caters more towards like performance and customization that I would get, you know, from just having a standalone device like this. Like the Note. The Note is like my favorite Samsung phone right now because you can, you know, have a huge battery, lots of RAM to do gaming and stuff. Really what a power user is somebody who gets the most out of their gear. Like, what are you trying to get out of the stuff you buy? And you know, I didn't really have a choice when I was younger, inheriting some of these devices, but I was lucky enough to get a couple gifts like the iPod Touch. And I hope you guys liked the video. Put it in the comments below. What is something that you used to use that kind of led to how you buy things here in the future? Maybe when you were younger you had a couple cell phones you didn't like that much, or you just felt like it was missing something. When you finally bought the phone you wanted, it just checked all the boxes. Let me know in the comments below, because that's the kind of stuff I like to hear about. And I will be making more videos like this where I talk about technology and how power users are looking for the next thing, what's going to give you that edge to get you through your day. Alright, power users, have a good night. Yeah, it's kind of late. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one.